Hello everyone. In this video, you'll be learning what are Android Vector Drawables, how to use them, and why to use them. You'll learn working with those. So let's get started. This video will basically cover the drawable resources in Android, which are categorized into the raster images and vector images. You'll then learn how to generate the vector XML using the material design icon. And then you can generate the vector XML using the custom SVG images that you design of your own. I'll show you how to use this vector XML with the Android Image Asset Studio to set various icons for your Android application. And then I'll also show you how to use these XMLs from the layout XML file as well as from the Java file, that is the activity files of your project. Once done with all this, we will also see the backward compatibility solution that we have for the vector drawable. Since it was introduced with Android Lollipop, that is API level 21, there has to be some solutions to use vector drawable with the API below 21. So we will see that too. And then, last but not the least, you will see the pros and cons of using the vector XML. And then you got to decide of your own whether to choose it or not, and for what kind of images that you need in your project. Now, the drawable resources in Android refers to the graphics that can be drawn, the images that you include in your project, which may be the icons, the image view, the image buttons. Now, this drawable resources in Android has the location in the resource under the drawable folder. The launcher icons are stored in the mipmap directory, whereas other drawable resources are in the drawable directory. Now, what are raster drawables? Raster drawable refers to the PNG, JPG, and the GIF images that we have been using in our Android project. And this raster drawable are non-scalable. That is, it can't adjust itself according to the density of the screen in which it is used. So, if you're using this raster drawable, you need to include the images for each densities of the screen that you are targeting. Now, coming to the vector drawable. As the name implies, the vector drawable are based on the vector graphics. As opposed to the raster graphics, this vector graphics describes the images using the geometrical shapes. These are the scalable graphics. By scalable graphics, I mean the images for different display resolutions can be created automatically in the runtime, and the image that comes up will be perfect. But again, this vector drawable graphics are good only for the simple graphics, mainly with the single color graphics. And for Android, we need to use the vector asset tool for creating the vector drawable. This vector drawable images or the graphics uses the vector drawable and animated vector drawable class in Android. Let us proceed with generating the vector drawables for our Android project. But before that, the vector drawables require the Android support library 23.2 or higher, and the Android plugin for Gradle should be 2.0 or higher. So let us proceed with using the material icons for generating the vector drawables. So here I have created a new Android Studio project, and in the project window I am in the project hierarchy. In the activity main.xml, I have used the linear layout, and in the linear layout I have added 2 image view and 2 text views. Since there is no image in the image view, it is not visible now. And for the text view, the default text is hello world in both the text views. And the main activity.java is default. Now, how do you check the Gradle version of your Android? To do that, go to the file menu, and there in the project structure, go to project, and here you have the Gradle version. Do not confuse with the Android plugin version and the Gradle version. The Gradle version here is 4.4, whereas the Android plugin version here is 3.1.1. So closing this up, let us create the vector asset from the material icon. Right click on the app directory, go to new, and then here we have the vector asset option. On opening this, the vector asset studio opens up, and here we have two asset type. The first is the clip art, and second we have the custom file that we can use to create the vector asset. Now this clip art gives us the material icons to convert to the vector XML. You can optionally change the name of the icon. Let's say we are creating an educational app and we need icons that are related to education. First, let us go for IC notes. So here in the clip art option, this looks good to me. Let's say the assignment icon, hitting OK. This will be my vector drawable preview. Here the default size is 24 by 24 dp. If you want to override it, select this option and enter your custom size. But I'll go for 24 by 24 dp. This is the default which is defined in the material design specification. You can then choose the color for this vector asset. I'll keep it black. You can then adjust the opacity of the vector XML as you need. I'll keep it 100%. And then we have enable auto mirroring for RTL layout. Select this option if you want a mirror image to be displayed if the layout is from right to left. I'll keep it unchecked. Okay, this name came up from the default icon which I selected, so I'll just keep it IC assignment. And now hitting next, we will select the resource directory. Here we have three options: main, debug and release. This main resource set applies to all the build version including the debug and release. The debug directory will only be used for the debugging purpose, whereas this resource directory of release will be applied only to one build version. I'll keep it main. So here our output directory will be drawable icassignment.xml. Hitting finish, in the app, source, main, resource, drawable, we have the icassignment.xml created. The vector XML consists of the group tag and the path tag. Here we have just the path tag. The group tag is used for specifying the transition, but we don't have any transition here, so we have just path. The attributes inside the path are the fill color and the path data. The fill color refers to the color of the image, and the path data defines the path in which the image will be drawn. So now we have generated this icassignment.xml using the material design icon. Now we will go and create the vector drawable using a custom SVG or PSD image. I'll go for the SVG images. Since Android does not support SVGs, that is scalable vector graphics, directly, we can use it with the vector drawables. So let's move to Android Studio. Here I've got few SVG images from Google. These two are the colorful ones, whereas this one is a single color. I just want to show you the difference between the two. So let's move to Android Studio. Right clicking on the app directory, new, vector asset. We will select local file for creating the vector asset now. You can optionally change the name of the vector asset, and then here in the path, you need to give the path of your SVG image. Let us first go for this monocolor image. Hitting open, here we do not get any error. In case if the SVG or the PSD file contains some unsupported feature, an error will appear here at the bottom of the screen. Let's try giving it a PNG image and see what happens. So I have got this PNG image from Google again. So let me open this up, and here you can see the error. Exception while passing the XML file. Content is not allowed in Prolog. So these are the kind of error which you might get. So again, let us get the SVG image. If you want to override it with your custom size, you can do that, but I'll leave it as it is. You can set the opacity and then enable the auto mirroring. Hitting next, set the resource directory, and the name of my icon will be IC board. I want it. Hitting finish. So I have got this icboard.xml created in my drawable folder. Let's open this up. Let me format this code, hitting Alt Command L. So here is my vector XML created for this colorful graphic. So here I have the multiple paths, and the vector graphic will be created according to the path. Let us create one for the monocolor SVG. Right clicking on the app, selecting this monocolor SVG. The name is IC Idea. Making the settings for the size, opacity and the mirroring. Hitting next and then finish. This is my vector XML for the monocolor SVG. Alt Command L, and here I have single path, and this is my vector XML image. So now we have created the vector drawables using the material icon as well as the SVG or the PSD image. Now it is time to use the vector drawable in our project. First we will start with using this icon from the Image Asset Studio for, let's say, the launcher icon. We will update the launcher icon for our application. Moving to Android Studio, let us run our application and see how our launcher icon currently looks. So this is my main activity with the to text view, and the image view is not visible since there is no image in it. Now let us close our app and see what the icon is. So here is my application with this default launcher icon. Now we will update this launcher icon using the vector XML that we have created. So right clicking on the app, new, image asset, and here the icon type will be adaptive and legacy. Let's say we will give our icon as the IC idea which we have, and the foreground layer will be, and we will have the asset type as image that we have just created. In the drawable folder, give the path for the drawable XML. And here IC idea.xml. So this is how the icon will look unless you resize it. You can also generate the XML file for the background, but I'll use the default one. Hitting next and then finish. So in the mipmap directories, our icon has been created. Now time to update the Android manifest file. We will change the name. Let's run our application and see if we have successfully used the vector XML to use it as our launcher icon. Closing our app and going to the app list, and yes, we have successfully updated the launcher icon using the vector XML for our foreground layer. Now, time to use the vector drawable from the layout XML file. Here, we will use it in the activity main.xml for the image view. Closing all this. Now in Android Studio, in the build.gradle file, so here we have set the minimum SDK version as 15. This means that our API level that we are including for this application is less than 21 and minimum is 15, but the API and SDK are different, although the number for both has to be same. Since we are targeting the API below 21, we need to add the backward compatibility in our application so that it uses the vector drawable for API less than 21. Now, how do you do that? In your Android Studio, if you're using Gradle plugin 2 or above, you need to add this parameter to your default config, that is vector drawable.use support library is equal to true. And if you're using Gradle plugin 1.5 or below, you need to add the default config parameter of generated density is equal to empty array, that is the square brackets, and then add the apt options for additional parameter as dash dash no version vectors, and then sync your project. Now let us add this to our build.gradle file. Since our Gradle plugin version is 4.4, I will add this to my build.gradle file. You have a build.gradle file inside the app folder. Add it to that. So in the default config, I have added this. Now I'll sync my project. And once done with that, I can now use the vector XML in my XML as well as Java file. So now, to use the vector drawable with the image view, you need to use the attribute of app src compat and then mention the vector XML file. So let's write that. And let's add the drawable IC idea. In the design tab, you can see this is our image view. Let us increase its size a little bit. And here you can see the image is quite clear and seems to be perfect. If you want to change the color of this icon, you need to change the tint attribute for this image. Go to View All Attributes and scroll down to Tint. And here in the tint attribute, hit on it and then select the color. Let's go for this color accent. And here is how you can change the color of this vector XML. And this tint property is added to the image view. So we have successfully used the vector XML in our activity main.xml layout file. Now how do you use it from the main activity.java file? Let's say we will use this image view and set this same icon from the main activity.java. So to do that, just initialize the image view and then set the resource just like you set the resource for the image view. Set image resource and then give the ID of the drawable. IC idea. So now we have successfully used the vector XML. Let's say we will use the height of the first one itself. You can set the layout height and width here from the XML file. So instead of wrap content, we will give it the custom ones so that it occupies the same size. And now on running our application, and here we have this image coming from the main activity.java. So we have successfully used the vector.xml file from the main activity.java as well. So we saw how to use the vector drawable as the launcher icon, how to use it from the layout file, and how to use it from the Java file. Now coming to the pros and cons of using the vector XML, let us first see the pros of it. For the vector graphics, these are rendered at the runtime. Thus, a perfect picture is created based on the density and the resolution of the screen in which it is used. So the picture obtained is perfect. Now the APK size is reduced considerably. Here in Android Studio, you just need a single file for the multiple images. So the concept of having multiple PNG images is removed. Thus, the APK size obviously reduces. Since we have a single file, that is a XML file, the maintenance is easy. Now the vector XML is created during the runtime. So if there is the complex graphics for the image that you are using, creating it while runtime will increase the runtime overhead and hence will make your app slow. Again, this drawing of vector drawable is slower as compared to PNG. And thus, the maximum recommended size of the graphics which you can use as vector is 200 by 200 dp. If it exceeds the recommended size, the app performance will be reduced considerably. Your app will be slow. Thus, there is no advantage of having a small APK where the app performance is reduced. It can be used for launcher icons or the monocolor icon which you use in your application. Let's say action bar or the notification icons and all that. But if you have complex graphics, you should use the PNGs. So that was all for the vector drawables. I hope you got something out of this video. Thanks for watching and have a good day.